Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Tammy. I'm the Siberian Wind. If you haven't heard of me before, or if you're just new visiting the channel, please hit that like, please hit that subscribe. Come hang out with us. We are going to work on some binding this morning. I've got to get some binding attached to this quilt so that I can get it back and get it gifted. And I've got two other quilts I've got to finish attaching the labels for. So you guys will get to see how that's going to go and how I do it. So I'm going to, I know Irish Sail Lady Linda has already commented in the chat. There's Janet saying evening. Welcome in, both of you. Thank you so much. And if you are not subscribed yet, you do have to subscribe in order to comment in the chat. You just have to be subscribed for about 5 minutes. Glenda is here. She says, good morning, Tammy. Good morning, Glenda. Michelle is here after being on chat with Donnell this morning. Welcome in, Michelle. And if you want to drop in your link, do exclamation selfie on my channel. You're more than welcome to do that. I would be more than happy to have you in the chat that way. Laura says, good morning, Tammy and everyone. I can hang out for a bit, but I have a haircut soon. Oh, that's exciting. Haircuts are a good thing. I've got extra thread of the same color, I think. It's darn close, but I'm just going to go ahead and take out the other thread because I'm not sure. So I'm going to go ahead and see where the machine is, see if this is set up right, and of course it's not. I move this camera around so much that I forget to set it back up. So let me go ahead. I'm going to bring you guys down to the machine. There we go. Michelle's link is in there. Donnell has joined the chat. Welcome in, Donnell. Thank you. She says, hey, love. Thank you for joining the chat, Donnell. I know you've had an exhausting morning. I know I caught you and Sean for about 30 minutes this morning, and then I think I caught your entire live with Michelle. I was doing other stuff and getting breakfast and caffeinated and trying to get caffeinated. I hope the makeup covers the fact that I'm not as caffeinated as I normally would be by now. I am just kind of getting ready for the morning. I have not been functional all day. I've been chatty, but I have not been functional. Donnell says, girl, I'm so sleepy. Oh. Well, see, your 8 a.m. is my 6 o'clock, so that's always a little excessively early for me. Let me get myself up a little bit so I can reach everything. Short girl problems. Short girl problems. All right, so the first one that we're going to be working on today is the Quilt of Valor that I did. And this is, I used a Bonnie Hunter pattern. I used the On Ringo Lake pattern from Bonnie Hunter. I have been wanting to do a Bonnie Hunter for forever. Chloe, I have sent your mug. It is shipping now. You should have gotten an email. It should be there Friday, is what they told me. Donnell says I've been up since 6 a.m., so I feel you. Yeah. I was up at 6 a.m., stayed up for about 30 minutes, and I was falling asleep while you and Sean were chatting. Not to say that y'all were bad chatting, but I was falling asleep because I was that tired. And I finally realized, I was like, no, I just need to go to sleep. I just need to go back. Janet, 11 p.m. in my world. Oh my goodness, lady. Oh my goodness. That's about the time that I normally go to bed. Thereabouts. Now, tomorrow night's live starts at 8 p.m. my time. So we are looking at 11 hours from now. So that would put it 10 a.m. Yeah, that would put it 10 a.m. your time. You're welcome, Chloe. I am glad I could ship that out. So when I've shipped out mugs in the past, UPS has done a really good job of packing them. However, they packed yours in this really long box, like oversized for what the mug needs. I mean, the mug is like this, but they packed it in a box this size, so they charged me extra for your mug. So I'm going to have to work on my packing skills and learn how to pack for all the future giveaways. I've learned my lesson the hard way. But it is still on its way to you. Extra packaging and all. But it is not my fault. I did not know that they were going to overpack it. Alright. So let me pull this over. So, okay. Trying to make sure I don't pull any of these clips off of here. I don't think I can make it tomorrow. No worries, Chloe. No worries at all. There is no pressure. There's always replay. I mean, when you're bored and you need something to watch and nobody else is on, just go play one of my Sunday nights. They're very chill. Or last one was, and I plan for all of them to be chill. All right, so you guys, this is the center block of this quilt. There's 50 of these units. So there are 50 total blocks in this quilt, and the sashing is these blocks right here. So this chisel, this triangle, and chisel piece is part of the sashing. Hang on. I'm looking at something wrong. Nope, I am looking at it right. Okay, so the triangle piece is part of the block, this triangle with the square, but then the sashing is this. It's got the triangle, chisel, triangle, and then the square joining pieces. So this is actually a sashing block, so to speak. So that's what went into this quilt. And it is, Donnell says, better than underpacking. Oh, yeah. On the shipping, yeah. You're absolutely right. I don't want it to break. That is for darn sure. I do not want it to break. And I hope YouTube likes the word darn, because I'm apparently going to use it a lot today. Let's see. Let me adjust my microphone. Get this table out of the way a little bit. There we go. That way the quilt isn't hitting it. So what I've done already, and I don't know if you guys caught the live where I did this. Hang on. Ugh. I got fabric stuck underneath my acrylic. Okay, now it's not going to bother me. Spell check. That looks awesome. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. I got what your spell check was. Oh, you're fine. You're fine, Janet. No worries. All right. So what I've done is I've already attached the binding to the front of the quilt. And what I do is I take my quilts and go sit with them somewhere. This one I did some of it out on the patio, and some of it I did in a chair in my living room. And I take and put my Wonder Clips on here, and I clip it. And I make sure that, let me put this up to the camera so you guys can see it. I make sure that my stitching line is going to be covered by my binding. Okay, so I take my extra time in this part of the process of clipping it so that I can speed through the rest of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch from the front, and I'm going to stitch close to the ditch. I'm not going to stitch right in it. I'm going to stitch possibly up on the binding just a hair, and it will catch that back for sure. And I'm not worried about this little bit of thread showing back here. Most people don't play that much with the binding on their quilts, so nobody's really going to be looking to pay attention to that. And then it'll have that extra layer of stitching all the way through. Let's see, finish the dishes. Now I can sew. Yay! That's awesome, Chloe. Yes! It is definitely sewing time. Alright, so I do need to figure out which side is the short side. And I think it is not this side in my hand, because that is a lot of quilts. Okay, down the short side. So now I'm going to go, and this quilt is reversible. It doesn't matter which is top and bottom and everything. Denise is here. She says, hello everyone. Welcome in, Denise. Thank you. Alright, so this is a Quilt of Valor, and my local group has these kinds of labels. So what this says, in case you can't read it, it says, Quilt of Valor, our mission to cover service members and veterans touched by war in comforting and healing Quilts of Valor, and to say thank you for your service and sacrifice. At the bottom it says washing instructions: wash in cold water using a mild detergent, color catcher, and non-chlorine bleach if needed. Tumble dry low. So every quilt is going to have its washing instructions. And then this gives us a place to say who it's awarded to, the location and date of when the quilt was awarded. It gives us a spot for pieced by, quilted by, and bound by. And I haven't already filled any of this out on this quilt, although all of that's going to be by me. But it's not uncommon, especially in our group, where it might be pieced by one person, quilted by someone else, and then possibly bound by a third person. So that way every person who touches this quilt can be recognized for their contribution. So our labels used to be smaller. These are our newer labels, and they're much larger. It gives us a lot more room to put that information on here. So what I do with my labels is I go ahead and I press under two sides of my label. So I've pressed under this top edge here and this side edge. So I will stitch this raw edge here and this raw edge here into the binding. So I'm just going to lay this in here. And you can, if you want to do your labels this way, like where you stitch them into the binding, you can always pin them in place. And I have in the past, and I think I actually will with this one because of how big it is. If I have my pins, okay, I see where they're at. I have hidden them from myself. Alright, just going to grab a couple of pins. I don't need a whole lot of them. And that's just going to be pinning these outer sides in place. So that way it doesn't flap over and back into the way. And I'm not fighting with it or possibly tearing the label up at all. So I'm just going to fold my binding over this label. And I'm tucking all the little loose threads in. And if the loose threads come out, I just clip them really close. I don't pull them. And I make sure that after I wash the quilts, I always double check for any loose threads to make sure that there's nothing left for somebody to accidentally pull and possibly cause damage to the quilt that I've worked so hard on. This is one of the first ones for this local Quilts of Valor group that I have done, where I have done everything on it. Most of the quilts that I've done for the local Quilts of Valor group, I have pieced the top, and then somebody else has quilted it and given it back to me for me to bind. Because I do not mind doing the binding, and I've usually already cut the binding for my quilts. At least for the Quilts of Valor ones I have. But this one, it was just easier for me to go ahead and do all of it versus doing just parts of it. Let me steal a clip from another section real quick because I want to make sure that this corner stays creased. And this has been clipped a few days, so I don't have to reacquaint the fabric with what I want it to do. It's going to stay put. So now that I've got that label in place, what I'm going to do is that is where I'm going to start my stitching down. So that way I don't have to worry about the label coming up, and I don't have to worry that I haven't gotten to the label or anything like that. And I do have my walking foot on Ricky. Ricky is the machine I'm stitching on now. You can see Ricky by the Ricky Timms decorations on the machine. I think it's such a beautiful machine. But I'm going to put my needle down. And I don't know where my little bowl of my little clips is. There it is. We're going to grab that up. Are you machine sewing at all? Yes, I am. The only thing that I won't machine sew is those two edges of the label. So I've actually got two other quilts that I'm going to hand sew those labels down. And I'm probably going to do that today on the live. Because sewing this down won't take all that long. The clipping it in place, I would have to say, is probably the longest part of binding for me. because again, I want to make sure that there is nothing that is not caught. And I'm not worried about the back on the quilts that are going to be used like this, that I know are not like going to be wall quilts or, you know, heirloom, or, well, I mean, this is kind of an heirloom. Janet says, sorry, I need to go to bed. We'll catch you next time. No worries, Janet. Thank you for hanging out for as long as you did. I appreciate it. Get some much needed rest. We know we all need rest. But yeah, if I had pieced the label into the back, then it would all be 100% machine sewn. But I do like to have a machine sewn binding. Yes, Janet, thank you. Absolutely. She's reminding everybody to make sure to give me a thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you guys, if you don't like my content, give me a thumbs down. It's fine. You hit one or the other and I am good. I am not going to be upset either way. I am not that kind of person. So I know it's hard to see, and I will show it once I get enough done that I can pull it up in front of the camera. But I am sewing just on the binding on the front to catch that seam that I've already sewn. And I am, Pam is here. She's a good Saturday morning. Good Saturday morning to you, Pam. Thank you for being here. So I catch the front of the binding and I catch the back of the binding. So the front of the binding actually has 2 rows of stitching. It has the initial stitching where I've stitched the binding in place to begin with. And then it's going to have the second row of stitching that is holding it to the back. Now, if I was trying to make this a little bit more fancy schmancy, I would take the time to stitch just in the ditch. But I would definitely cut my binding a little bit, just like a hair larger than what I have, or I would trim my seam allowance. So that way I know for a fact I am catching the binding 100% of the way around. If I miss a spot, I will go back and use my machine to stitch it in place. I'm not going to hand stitch it because I feel like my machine stitches are much more secure than anything I could do by hand. And that's also another reason I try to I try to put my label in place. Alright. No, I still can't get that to the camera. I'm overly ambitious, you guys. Overly ambitious. My caffeine still has not kicked in yet. I am still on my first few sips of caffeine, so yeah, I'm still working on it. Still very much working on it. I am going to be going to a baseball game tonight, so I have got to get this done, and I've got to get some work in on Super Secret Project. I have been working diligently on that. I was working on it last night, and out of all the most heartbreaking things to have happen, I had to take and redo part of what I had worked on. Part of what I worked on was not coming out right, and it didn't look good. So I had to take more fabric and redo the whole section I had just done. So I definitely it's been a challenge. Yeah, I'm hoping that the game will be fun. I was at one Thursday night, and so I'm really kind of excited about going to the one tonight. The local team, I mean, okay, you guys, you know purple is my color. You know purple is my color. If you've hung around the channel for a while, you know my color is purple. I don't always wear purple, but I love purple. Everything that I can get in purple is in purple. Guys, our home baseball team, they're purple. It's like purple and teal. And so they were giving out cups last night. I wasn't there, but I should be able to buy one tonight. And the cup says bleed purple. And when it's filled with cold liquid, it turns purple. So it's a color changing cup. My husband showed me a picture. I was like, oh, I have to have one of those. He's like, I know, I'll get you one. I gotta have the purple. Gotta have the purple. And I've got to decide if I'm going to wear my team shirt tonight or if I'm going to go for a tank top, because it's going to be really hot tonight again. I don't know what it's not super hot yet, but it was really hot last night. And then I'm sitting in the sun. Granted, the clouds came out last night, but when you're sitting out in a baseball stadium with no shade, you kind of have to plan for your comfort levels. So, yeah, the cup is awesome. I think and it's like $2 like you can bring the cup back every night that you come back, and you get $2 refills. So that would save me a ton on drinks at the stadium because I'm there so much. So we will see what happens. We will see. But, let's see. I've got to get that super secret project done for July because there's going to be a special event at the baseball stadium, and that super secret project is getting awarded at the stadium in July. So I have a very limited amount of time to get it done. And yeah, so I'm a little stressed. Joy T, she says, good morning, Tammy and everyone. Good morning, Joy T. Glad you could make it in. Thank you for joining the chat this morning. We are binding a Quilt of Valor. I do have an idea of who it is going to. I don't know a name. One of our previously awarded quilts from our group went to a veteran who came back and let us see some of the quilts that his family had made. There was a denim quilt. There was like a lot of utility quilts. I mean, they're just gorgeous quilts. And some of these were pieced by hand or by treadle or what have you. And they were pieced in the Southeast. So for them to be up here, it's really kind of cool. They've been brought up this way. And, but he brought it back and he's like, well, I know of somebody, and he was telling us about the person, and it's another Marine Corps veteran. And from the story he was telling me about this veteran, as soon as the gentleman turns in, you'll be at your older daughter's? Oh, okay. Is that tomorrow night, or is that... I'm confused. You'll be at your older daughter's... July 17th? Is that what you're talking about? Or 18th? But from what they've told me about this veteran, he has been through a lot, more than just the standard, I served overseas kind of deal. And it's very rare for me to have the feeling of this belongs to somebody specific. Like, if I'm making a quilt, unless I am making it intending it initially to go towards someone, once it's made, if I already knew it was going to be gifted, like a Quilt of Valor would be, it doesn't matter to me who gets it. Like, I don't have a preference. I would like it to go to a Marine Corps veteran just because you know, I have a soft spot for Marines. My husband is a former Marine. You know, once a Marine, always a Marine, so he is still technically a Marine, even though he's retired from it. But, so I always have a soft spot for Marines, but hearing the story from this guy about this Marine veteran, I looked at the group leader. I was like, okay, when we get his information in, this quilt that I've, you know, just got to finish up, this quilt is going towards him. I was like, this one is now earmarked. We just have to get, you know, the nomination form in. So it, again, like I said, it's very rare for me to earmark a Quilt of Valor or anything like that unless I start making it for one specific person, but I did not know about this veteran specifically when I started this quilt. But I feel like with everything that I was hearing from the story, sorry you guys, he just bumped into everything. He just bumped into my camera. My service dog did. But I feel like this is the perfect quilt for him. I feel like it's got enough pieces, enough time, enough effort, enough love put into it that it will convey that to him. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up so you guys can see what I'm doing. Alright, so this is the front side, and I know it's hard to see navy on navy, so I'm going to go here. Let's see if the camera will focus. No, the camera does not want to focus. Okay. So my stitching is hidden because it is in the binding. And so that's exactly what it's doing on this back side too. So there may be some spots where you see the front side stitching a little bit if you pull the binding back. But you'd have to physically pull it back in order to see it. And we'll double check to make sure I caught everything before I shut the machine down, because I want to make sure that if I didn't catch everything, that we go back and catch it. And I do have my walking foot on this machine in order to do this. I don't piece with the walking foot on this machine. However, I have like applique and binding and anything that is a little bit thicker because I don't want things to move, and I'm used to having the dual feed on Beauty. I just kind of want the extra security. So how many of you guys put your binding on using a walking foot? Or do you just quilt using a walking foot? Like, is that something you've ever considered doing, is putting your binding on with a walking foot? The Bernina walking feet have like 3 different sole plates, 3 different foot plates, if you will. So this one is an open toe foot plate, or open toe sole plate. So I can zigzag and I can look and see exactly where my needle's going to go, and there's nothing between my needle and my fingers. So if my fingers stay put all the way up to the needle would go into my fingers. So I do have to be cautious of that I don't send my fingers all the way up to the needle. But I'm very careful about that. I've done it once, not going to do it again. I didn't do it doing this, I will say that. I did not sew through my finger doing binding or sewing with an open toe foot. I did it using an embroidery module. And that machine is not in my possession. It was banished to timeout. I think it actually got sent back to the warehouse because it had not sold for whatever reason. Joy T says walking foot. You do use your walking foot for it. That's awesome. See, like I mentioned that I use my walking foot for binding on my smaller machine to somebody, and they looked at me strange. But I use my dual feed on my other machine for so much So why wouldn't I, kind of transition and use a dual feed option on this machine too? And the closest dual feed you can get on the smaller machines, or a less equipped machine, is going to be a walking foot. So I'm going to run out of storage in my clip spot. Pam says my FAFs have integrated dual feed, so I don't have a walking foot. Yeah, I could put this walking foot on my other machine if I wanted to, but I just use the dual feed. I've got a lot more options for dual feet than I do for walking foot sole plates. Drew T says my machine has a built-in walking foot too. Awesome. Yeah, there you go. Sorry, my husband came home and my comment posted. Oh, you're fine, Chloe. You are fine. I was just going, okay, what were we talking about? I just found it comical. I was just going, I've missed something somewhere. Just color me clueless. I'm allowed to be clueless. I don't mind. I live here regularly. Oh. So this is making quilt 4 out of the 4 quilts I had to bind. So all 4 quilts will be bound. I'm only labeling 3 of them. I need to figure out a label for the 4th one. But it's not, I've already bound it, and it's not kind of a traditional quilt, so I'm not sure exactly how I want to label it. But I can label it later because it's not going anywhere. It's not time sensitive. It's not one, if I forget it, it'll be a big deal. So all the rest of these, if I don't label them now, I just have to label them now. I don't get to get out of it. So I had to wait on setting Beauty up to be able to embroider to get 2 of the quilts labeled. And then this one, I don't know, this one became a lower priority just because we don't have the information for the veteran it's going to yet. So it's not that it's not a priority, it's just until I have the information about who it's going to, we don't even have a date that it's being awarded. So I don't know how long this quilt will be sitting waiting. But I think one of the ladies has the information to contact the guy who told us about the veteran. So I think, anyway, we'll hope that she's got that information. If not, then we'll just be waiting for his call. She's confident he'll call. So, yeah, I don't think this will be like a long-term waiting. But this quilt is definitely earmarked for him at this point. So, it's, one of the few things I can do for a Marine who's been through probably as much as my husband has. So I kind of have a soft spot. Okay, so we got 2 sides left. We've done 2 sides, you guys. We got 2 sides left. I was looking, thinking, oh, I only have 1 more side. No, I got 2 sides. Maritza is here. She says, hola. Hola, Maritza. Glad you could make it. Thank you for joining us this morning. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on, Maritza? I see you're coming to the chat, and I'm clueless as to what you're working on. I haven't been able to follow a whole lot of people lately, so I'm trying to catch up with everyone. It's going to take me a while. It's going to take me a long while. And I just got told this late last night, that I will be doing my next Saturday morning and probably Sunday evening lives from South Dakota. My understanding is that we are traveling, and I get to go. My husband is traveling and I get to go. So you guys may be seeing me in a hotel room the next time you see me. So we shall see. We shall see, we shall see. What's going to be rough about that is I can't work on Super Secret Project on the road. So I've got to get Super Secret Project a lot further along before we go on the road. Oh. So we are going to hope and pray that I can make it in time. Pam says, awesome, you're doing Quilts of Valor. As a Navy vet, I wanted to do some, but work and life has so limited my sewing time the last 2 years. Yeah, no, I completely understand that. I wanted to be a part of a Quilts of Valor group when I lived in the Southeast, but the closest group to where I lived was going to be a long commute, like a really long commute. And I was kind of an unknown back then, so people like really didn't know me, and you know, did they really want me, you know, spending the time to commute to work on these projects when they really didn't know if what I was going to be putting out was quality? And I get it, but yeah, basically I didn't get to participate doing this back in the Southeast. When I moved up here, I moved up to Casper, one of the first groups I went to was the Quilts of Valor group. I made a point of, I had the information about where I needed to go and when, and that's when I made my first quilting friends up here, was at the Quilts of Valor group. I basically said hi, introduced myself, and yes, I agree, Pam. Thank you for your service. Good point out, Chloe. Thank you. I came across something the other day, and so my husband is one of those, he struggles. Hang on. Let me try to settle these. Nope, not settling them. I was trying to get some more room. So my husband is one of those that struggles with, it was my honor, as a response when he is thanked for his service, because he is so humble about everything that he did and everything he put himself through. And I read something the other day, and I read it out to him, not realizing what the end was going to say. And it gave him a different answer other than it was my honor. The answer to thank you for your service that the veteran used was, you are worth it. And guys, I cannot tell you the chills I felt when I read that. And I've heard him say that, I think, once or twice already. And that really kind of hit home that, you know, he considers it an honor that he was able to serve, but at the same time, he doesn't like being recognized for having his service or doing the service he did. He doesn't like it. He doesn't want the recognition, because for him, it's not about the recognition. So, and I know that's a common thread with a lot of our veterans. So yeah, that is kind of his new response, is that you are worth it when somebody says thank you for your service. And he gets thanked for his service a lot more here than he ever did down in the Southeast. So he's encountering it a lot more. Like, people will come up, and if he's got a Marine Corps shirt on, or he's got his one of his service-related hats on, you know, he gets stopped regularly. So it's, for me, it's an honor to be able to do this, to honor veterans who have, you know, who've gone through the service, who have, you know, put their time in. Because every part of the military no matter what we want to joke about the government, every part of the military is hard. Every part of the military has its challenges. Every part of the military can leave its scars. Judy, hi, just jumped in for a bit. Welcome in, Judy. Glad you made it. Thank you. So yeah, every part of the service, every branch, doesn't matter what you did in the service. As long as the military says that you're honorably discharged, then you have earned the rights to wear that. Even being in the service, you earn the rights. But I'm rambling, you guys. I'm trying not to get super sentimental, but I'm getting super sentimental at the same time. So, and I think that's part of what has taken me so long on this quilt, is being the sentimental part of it. Even though I don't personally know the veteran that this one is going to, knowing that it is going to a Marine Corps veteran, and that I felt that, I had that heart movement where you feel compelled for something, feeling that compelling feeling that this is who it was meant for, that just makes it more challenging to finish. Yes, Judy. Judy is saying, thank you for your service, Pam. I agree. I never could have gone into the military if I'd wanted to. I would not have made it very far. I would be I would follow orders. That would not be the problem. My problem would be the physical stamina. I have never had the stamina that I could not have passed the PT stuff in order to be in the service. I would have never made it past boot camp. I don't care what the drill sergeants would have done. I would not have made it. And I fully admit that I would not have made it. I do not have the physical ability or the desire to have the physical ability to be able to do all of that. I think it's awesome, but my body was never meant for it. Pam says, thanks, Judy. I truly felt honored to serve the USA. That's awesome. Judy says I would have been a Private Benjamin. Okay, the dog is leaving them alone, so if they fall on the floor, I'm just going to leave them on the floor. I'm starting to clip the clips around the top of my container. That way they, hold in all the other clips as it's overflowing. Because I don't know where my other container is that has less of them in it. I really needed to find that this morning, and I didn't. I slacked. This is why I would not have made it through boot camp, you guys. If I don't have to do something, there's not a guarantee that I'm going to. Oh, I find creative solutions. I find the loopholes. I probably would have gone in, if I had gone in any way that I could have, I probably would have gone in through one of the military colleges. That would have been the route I would have gone. And I would have gotten a degree in something so I could basically be a desk jockey. And I know that sounds bad, but that would have been my skill set and what I would be good at. I've always been good at office work. Okay. My clip was under my foot and I was trying to pick it up, but nope, I can't do it. I would have, I could have gone into legal, been a lawyer, and the military would have paid for it. I totally would have done stuff like that, but that would have been the only way I would have been successful in the military. Judy says, I have an ammo box that holds my clips. Ooh. I still have to learn how to use a pew pew. I do not know how to use one. I did not grow up learning, and between my dad and my husband, I've never had to learn, but I want to learn. So I will eventually learn. Oh, we're on a short side. I thought we still had a long side, you guys. We are on a short side. This is the last side. Oh my goodness, you guys. Alright. Alright. Okay. I apologize, you guys. I've been looking at a vehicle, and my dad was giving me feedback on the vehicle. We have one vehicle. We are a one vehicle household. And we are finally at that point where we are being pulled two different directions too many times. And it's becoming difficult to stay at one vehicle household. So we're looking at a second vehicle. And my dad is a former diesel mechanic and taught me everything I know about fixing vehicles. I know how to change the oil. I know how to rotate tires. I know how to change filters. I have replaced a head gasket on a vehicle before. What else have I done? I've replaced air intake manifold. Oh gosh. I've replaced the brakes and rotors. I have bled the brake lines and redone them. I mean, I've done all that kind of stuff. Like, I am mechanically inclined. And I had a good teacher. But so when I am looking at a vehicle, I send the information to my dad because he's still available and can still help. And if he doesn't already know anything about the vehicle I'm looking at, he will do the research and he'll be able to tell me what kind of problems I'd be looking at with said vehicle and whether or not it's even a close to sound investment for me, i.e. is it something that I think I can fix. Chloe says, wow, not me. Not my husband either. My husband is not mechanically inclined. So in the military, my husband was, he was in the Air Force for part of his service. Because he's been in 3 branches. He was in the Marine Corps first, then he was in the Air Force, then he went to the Army, and then he went back to the Air Force. And during one of his stints in the Air Force, he was an airplane mechanic, and he could take apart a fighter jet. I don't remember which one, so you guys, you can't shoot me. I don't know. I honestly can't ever remember. Like, he's told me, he could tell me in 10 minutes, and I would still forget by the time I went to tell you Sunday night. Because for some reason, the numbers on the planes just run together. But I know it was a fighter jet. I know that much. But he could take apart the entire fuel system thing for this airplane, and he could troubleshoot a problem. But he had a manual, and he had training on how to do that. He's not had a manual and training on how to take a car apart and put it back together. If he did, he could probably do it. He probably could. But he doesn't have the desire to do it. So I don't fault him for that. Like, he needs somebody to hands-on teach when it comes to mechanically inclined stuff. He needs somebody to hands-on teach. And he has to have a real desire to want to learn how to do something in order to do it. Like, he can change the tires and he can rotate the tires. Like, he could do that on his own, but he doesn't really want to. So he'd rather pay somebody else to do it. And that's perfectly fine. As long as you keep up with the maintenance on a car, in my opinion, as long as you were using a reputable mechanic, it doesn't matter whether you do it yourself or you have someone else do it. As long as it's a reputable place, then, it's no big deal. So we went to one place here. During the winter, I'm not going to change the oil. I'm not going to do it. It is way too cold, and our garage is not heated. We have a garage that we pay for, but it is not heated. And while I can handle the cold, I can only handle it for so long with exposed hands or whatever. So, like, I have my limits to what I can handle. And the winter was a little too cold, and we needed the oil changed immediately. So I looked up the places here in town, and I sent him one place to go have the oil changed, and they did a 3,000-mile oil change. And I was accustomed back home to getting a 5,000-mile oil change. So the extended life. The pins are claiming my shirt, you guys. So I'm used to the 5,000-mile oil change. So there is a place here that can do a 5,000-mile oil change on a 5,000-mile oil change on my vehicle. So that's where I sent my husband to take it last time. And about a week or so before we went to Salt Lake City, he started noticing that there's oil drops on the garage floor. And he's like, well, it started out there was just one drop. And then he's like having me go take a look so that I can see with my own eyes how much oil we've lost. And we haven't lost a whole lot. Like, it's not a puddle of oil. But we have like a good 20-30 drops of oil on the garage floor. And I was like, okay. So the place that we'd taken it, I have issues. The place that does the 5,000-mile oil change, and why I didn't initially take it there to begin with, is because one, they're more expensive than they need to be, and two, I had issues with some of the other work they've done on the car. So I really didn't want to take it there, but you know, it was what it was. That's what we tried. But so when I took it for the oil change before Salt Lake City, I took it back to the place that did the 3,000-mile oil change. But they don't rotate the tires. So, you know, it's a trade-off. Do I get the tires rotated and have problems with my car? Or do I not get the tires rotated and have to do it myself later? And it's, you know, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But the gentleman pulled out the oil filter, and after he got the oil changed and got everything put back together, he's like, I just want to show you this in case you've got some oil drops somewhere or whatever. Yeah, this is what happened. And I looked at it and I said, you've got to be kidding me. He's like, no. I said, are those tool muckers? He said, nope. Those were there before I pulled it off. I was like, I figured. The oil change people that had done the oil change at the place that I don't like to go to had over tightened, or they had dry seated the oil filter, and you don't do that. So they had actually caused my oil filter that they had put on, that I paid extra money for because, again, tire rotation and everything else. They had caused that oil filter to crack, so I was leaking oil. So it's, you know, it's fixed. I've got it all changed out and all, but I won't be going back to the place that did that, because there is no way I'm doing that either way. Joy T says, I have to jet. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you, Joy T. I appreciate it. Thank you for hanging out. All right, I've got a few places I am going to have to fix. I'm debating on how I want to do this. They're not big places, so I guess I'm going to do it from the back. So that way I can see exactly what I'm doing. Now, if you do this and you have these places and you want to fix it by hand, that would be the time to do it. I just don't really want to fix it by hand. So I'm going back over my previous stitching, and I'm just folding the binding into the way so that I'm not going to have a whole lot of extra stitching in place. I'm just going to have what I absolutely need to have. Alright, so that one's fixed. Let me see if there's any others that I just need to fix. Because that one was fairly big. I could put a couple of fingers in that one. I did not do as good of a job on pinning this as I thought I did. So it's kind of close in some places. So that's what I'm looking at, you guys. Everybody saying bye to Joy T. I'm glad you guys came and hung out with me as long as you have. I appreciate it. We're not going to be on here much longer because I'm going to show you guys what I need to do with this extra stitching, and then we will call it quits. All right. I got 2 small spots, but they're close enough together that it would be enough to pull stitching out. So we are going to go in and tack it here. None of the other quilts I've done this way recently have had this problem. So, but I knew that I did not press this binding very well. So I knew that this might be a problem with this quilt. Maybe that's why I was holding off on doing it. That's what we're going to go with. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. Alright, I think that got it all. Alright, so Denise is going as well. She says, bye everyone. Thanks for the visit. Thank you, Denise. I appreciate it. Alright, so here is the label of this quilt. And I did go ahead and take the pins out because I was catching them. So all I've got to do now is I've got to take and hand stitch this in place. So I told you I had 2 other quilts that I needed to stitch down as well. This is that baby quilt, the Irish chain with a twist quilt. And I know the label doesn't show up very well, and I apologize. It is the blue that I used with the binding, and then I used the thread that matches this backing. And I said, just like the delicate flowers of the hydrangea, may you cluster together with those you love. So that's what the well-wishing on the baby quilt is. So it needs to be hand stitched down. And this is the other one that I have done that I need to hand stitch the label down. And I've got to do that before these can be washed. So this label is much bigger. So the backing of this quilt is the purple that you're seeing. And this is that Tumbling Blocks quilt. And so I did a full-on big deal label with this one. And this one is labeled Cassandra's Dimension. And it says, the life you lived inspired others like me to reach for things we had never dreamed possible. Thank you for cutting these pieces and mending my heart as I assembled them in your memory. Cut by Cassandra, gone July 4th, 2021. Piece quilted and bound by me and finished in memory 2024. So I'm going to have to hand stitch the edges of this label down as well. And then I will be able to trim my threads. So all of these, I've got loose threads, like long tails from where I was quilting, or my thread broke while I was quilting. So I've got to bury all of those. And if you guys have never tried to bury your threads, what I recommend, and this is a pack from Walmart, is these easy threading needles. And it really doesn't matter which size needle you use at this point. So all you're doing is when you pull these needles out, the top of the needle, let's see if the camera will focus. It may not focus. We're going to hope. Is it focusing? Is it focusing? No, it's not focusing. Okay, let's try this. No, it's not focusing. I might have to take a picture of it. The tops of these needles, you guys, is open. So instead of having to sit there with a needle threader and put the needle threader through, put your thread through and pull the needle threader out, all you have to do is pull the thread on either side of the top of this needle and just pull it down, and it pops into the eye of the needle. And then you run this under wherever you need to run it. Okay, so that's how I do that. I do not typically sew the labels on using the easy threading needles, but you can. but I don't know that I will. So I have to get some time in on my super secret project, so I can't work on it on YouTube. So let me grab my mouse and bring you guys back out. So I wanted to thank you guys for coming to hang out this morning. I have a kind of an idea of what I'm going to work on tomorrow night. And so we'll be hanging out for a couple of hours tomorrow night. And I will update you guys more with the schedule for next week as soon as I have information about that. We're waiting on schedules and everything. But we will be doing this again next week. About this time, I'm thinking. So it'll probably be about the same time. Chloe says, off to my elder daughter's softball game. It was nice to stay with you. Thank you, Chloe. I'm so glad you were here. I really appreciate every last one of you for hanging out with me. I could not do this without you. So thank you, and thank you. So Chloe says, I'll watch replay. No worries, Chloe. I'm actually about to sign off. So I want you guys to have a great Saturday, and I will see you again Sunday evening. And if not, don't forget Tuesday is a giveaway day, and we are still at our new time, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, so 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, okay? So Tuesday is a giveaway day, so be sure to be there. All right, I will see you guys later. Bye.